Everybody. How are you doing today? I'm so glad to be here with you. Um, it is Lipedema Wellness Conversations with Gail, that would be me, and friends, that is Faranak. And Faranak comes to us today from South Africa. We have had the great privilege of working with her for about a year. Many times in our community, you don't get to see Faranak because Faranak is in South Africa. And when we do a lot of our events, Faranak happens to be sleeping. And I know for a fact that sleep is extraordinarily important to everybody, and Faranak holds her sleep dear. So we don't wake her up at 2:30 in the morning to say, come play with us. So we do have the privilege of being here early this morning here in the United States, or at least here in Idaho. So what I would like you to do, if you get a chance, when you come in and say hi to us, tell us where you're from so that we can greet you back. And before we get started, I do want to let you know that we have right now what's called a CSIG going on. We had an intro to it last night, but if you are still interested in attending that, I'm going to put the link in the chat in the comments. So if you are interested in looking at it, there's that link. Go ahead and click on that and see if it's something that you want to do. It's called Thriving Through the Holidays, because we know how stressful getting closer to the holiday season is for so many of us. And that being said, we did have a little bit of stress this morning because every time Faranak tried to get in, it kicked her out. And I'm thinking, maybe we're going to end up starting a little late. So right now, I see that Lisa is here. Hello. She's from Pennsylvania, and we're always glad to see her. Hi, Lisa. It's good to see you. So with that said, Faranak, um, can you give us a little bit of your background of how you got involved with nutrition?
Okay, sure. So, hello everyone. It's so lovely to be here with you all. So my name is Faranak and I am from Johannesburg, South Africa. So, yeah, it's quite, late in the afternoon here. But anyways, I always was interested, in nutrition, and I have a background in sport as well. So when I basically graduated from high school, I first studied food science, basically agricultural engineering in the field of food science. And I used to play basketball professionally. And I was always interested, in nutrition and sports. So I was looking for something to kind of mix them both. So I wanted to study, sports science as a postgrad. So I basically studied food science undergrad, and then postgrad I continued with sports science. And then with my research project I kind of mixed sport and nutrition together because I thought they kind of go quite well together. And because of that I had to get into a lot of extra reading in the field of nutrition. And a few years before that, I got into the concept of low carb and keto through my husband's journey, which he had a family history of high cholesterol, and he could not get that cholesterol in control with following basically a standard nutritional guideline of, staying away from, all the good fats and egg and, meat and all that. And he was on a very high dose of statins. And we had a friend who was doing keto by then. And then he said, why don't you try it out? And obviously with all that I knew about nutrition from my food science degree, it was kind of opposite of, whatever I knew. And I was like, no, you shouldn't try this out. You're going to have a heart attack. And anyways, he was he really wanted to do it. And then we said, let's just do a full panel of bloods before and after and see if it actually changes anything. And we did that. And he was on keto for about 8 months, very, very strict. And after that, we basically did the whole panel of bloods. And then literally my GP phoned me and she said, what did he do? Because everything improved, blood sugar, cholesterol, cholesterol, insulin, and he lost also about 15 kilogram within, basically during those 8 months as a bonus, because he didn't really do it for weight loss, but he was overweight. So it was a real win. And then, then I became interested and I was like, well, there should be something in it. So I gave it a try. And then I saw that, sure, my energy levels improved. I got rid of all the cravings. I didn't have to eat every 2 hours. And I really saw the difference in my body regarding energy levels, cognitive clarity and everything. And that was when I actually became interested. I realized, maybe there is something more into it. So when I got into a lot of extra reading in the field of nutrition, with regarding to my research project, then I came across this whole concept of low carb and keto, and I really then started to go very deep into it. And then I realized, all the nutritional guidelines that I knew, specifically regarding, dietary guidelines and standard, basically diet, it was all outdated. And obviously there was new science coming out, new evidence, and I really felt that I need to upgrade my knowledge. So it all started from the fact that I realized what I knew was actually not right and was not working. So that's how I basically got into it. And obviously, I got into know Professor Tim Noakes, which is from South Africa. So, he was all over the news and everywhere, and I was following him very closely. And yeah, when I got into, the training around low carb and keto, so I started off and basically I certified as a nutrition coach practitioner. And I started basically, focusing on nutrition basically mostly. So before that, I was mostly focused on sport, and now I'm mostly focused on nutrition. So I still deal with kind of both because I do work with also sporty people, but the main focus is obviously nutrition and, helping people to become healthier and, feel better and look better and yeah, all that. So that's where it all started.
Wow, isn't that amazing? And so when you were focused on sports and nutrition, but your husband's health said something's got to change.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so you've had to learn how to do a 180, just boom, on go the opposite direction. Now,
Exactly.
and now you said that you work with sports people also. And oh, I wish I was sporty. I'm, I'm not. I'm more of the not sporty anyway. Um, and do they find when you changed to working with the keto or the low carb or the just because it was out of the norm? I mean, because we've been told to stay low fat, we've been told to eat
Exactly.
whole grains and all the when have they seen that their performance change when they come to see you if you work with because sports nutrition now is a different thing for you. So when
Definitely.
it's nutrition, what kind of things do they find improve for them?
So basically, the first thing that they see improving is basically energy levels, and this is specifically regarding endurance athletes like cyclists, long distance runners, and those kind of people. So they definitely benefit from higher energy levels. I actually have a client which he is 64 years old, and he is doing something called here in South Africa. We've got something called Sky Run. So it is basically a kind of an event where you go 100 kilometer and it's in the mountains. So it is basically altitude. It's hard. You have to go overnight and everything. And when he came to me, he obviously knew about low carb, and he basically was listening to everything, and he can run, or he can basically do that event for 10 hours without eating anything. Like, he is so fat adopted. He's been doing this for about 8 or 9 years already. So I mean, the amount of energy that you can get is, I think, it's enormous, because we all have lots of basically fat resources in our body, so you're never going to run out of that. So I think it really helps with those kind of athletes regarding energy levels. That's one thing, but it also helps regarding body composition, because you will get rid of some body fat percentage, and you obviously because we kind of focus quite a lot on the protein in the diet, they tend to also find it easier to also, build muscles and get rid of the extra fat. So that's when the body composition then improves, it also helps with power to weight ratio. So even though that somebody might not be necessarily an endurance athlete, or they might be body lifter or anything, the fact that their body composition resolves, they still basically feel a bit different regarding, power to weight ratio. It also helps with recovery, if basically there is anything happening during the event or exercise or anything, it really helps with recovering after exercise and, basically getting all the energy levels back. And, we obviously focus on eating whole food, real food. So try and get rid of, all the unnecessary, supplements in the world of sport, which also they are also loaded with, a lot of sugar and unnecessary stuff. So I think overall, sporty people do also benefit from it. It might be the fact that, not everybody has to go keto, but definitely low carb is the way to go, because the long term dangers of exposure to a lot of carbs over a long period of time is actually not worth it. So you might perform for a period of time well in sport, but the long-term health is what is really important. But the thing with sport is that you need to be basically fat adapted. So you need to become metabolically flexible. So people need to do it way before any sort of event, so that because what happens is that you will go through a dip. So and then you will come up. So if somebody is very close to the sporting event, we usually don't touch the diet. So they need to have enough time in order to be adapted to the new fuel source. But, generally speaking, sporty people definitely do benefit from it.
Yeah, and I mean, what you say is, I actually experienced. I was getting prepared for a hike, and I had decided to go. Oh, I'll go low carb, and I went out like 3 days into the low carb. Right, I went out to do a hike, and I was out about a mile, and I sat down, and I was doing 5 miles a day at the time, and I had to sit down after a mile, and I looked at my husband. I said, "I'm dizzy. I said, "I need to get back to the car," and I went back to the car, and we had apples in the car and ate an apple, and I felt better, and because I didn't know what I was doing, right? I was freestyling. I was just, "Oh, I'll just stop eating carbs," and it's not that easy. It's not
Exactly.
easy just to stop eating carbs, um, and that's one of the things that you bring to us, is you bring us because you're a coach, because you're a nutrition coach, you you help each individual find their way of lowering the carbs without having a lot of adverse effects, because our bodies are so used to, like you said, I don't have to eat every 2 hours anymore. When we're carb burners, when we're glucose burners all the time, right? We have to keep that fuel going all the time.
Exactly.
But when we metabolically switch to being a fat burner, now we don't have to keep that. We already have the fuel. We don't have to keep
Exactly.
loading. We don't have to top off our tank time and time again. And but there is a switch. Our body does go through a switch.
Yeah, it
So
does.
what are some important things as our body goes through that switch that we need to think about?
So, basically, I always say some people call it keto flu. I basically call it sugar withdrawal symptoms, because it's like somebody who is alcoholic, or, you basically addicted to any sort of drug. So when you leave it out, you will experience some symptoms. So I think the main one is very low energy levels. Some people get headaches, some people get a lot of cravings and stuff like that. And basically, to go through it, you basically need to drink lots of water, you need to add electrolytes, and you just need to basically keep going over the first few days. And the fact that you also need to know, or I always make, my clients aware that, you will go through this phase. So just be aware of it. And if you get all these symptoms, don't think that, oh no, I'm feeling horrible and this is not good for me. So just go through it, and then know that you will come up, and everything starts improving. The one of basically the main reason that a lot of people experience extremely low energy levels and they feel very tired, is basically because body is relying on sugar to give us energy. And then when we eliminate the sugar, which basically Obviously, some of the carbs are not necessarily sweet, but we call them complex carbs, so they're made out of sugar anyway. So they basically break down and they all enter our system as a simple molecule of sugar. So basically, when we eliminate the amount of sugar entering the blood system through the diet, then your body doesn't have any other fuel source, and our bodies still doesn't know how to use fat efficiently for energy. So some of the fat obviously comes from the diet, which can help a little bit with energy levels, but your body needs to basically make that shift to be able to kind of figure out how am I going to use fat for energy. And that basically takes few days to basically get started, and possibly a few weeks to kind of basically become metabolically flexible, meaning that your body can switch over easily between the two. So the whole concept of keto is that your body starts using fat for fuel, and then you produces basically energy molecule called ketone. And if your blood ketone levels go above a certain point, then we say you are in the state of ketosis, meaning that your body is now using fat predominantly to give you energy. So obviously some of the fat comes from your diet, and then the rest can come from your body. And then that's how we basically tend to lose weight, because we start using our own body fat, for energy. I think it's just to be aware that, you might go through those symptoms, and everybody's experience of that is different. Some people go through a horrible, sugar withdrawal symptoms, and some people don't experience it much. It also depends on how good or how bad our current eating habits are just before we change. So if you've been on a lot of sugars and refined carbs and snacking all the time, you will experience much harsher symptoms, and it might be a little bit more difficult, but you will eventually come out of it. So it's just to get through the first 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and then after that you will be fine. So I find out, just to give to get a little bit of a support to start with, it really helps with people to stick to the plan. And you hear a lot of people say, I tried keto and it didn't work for me. So they usually don't give it enough time to actually see all the benefits. Most people like that, they just go through the first week or two, which they feel horrible, and they say, it doesn't work for me. But in the meantime, I would say you need to at least give it a month to start seeing, things start improving, and, energy levels and, inflammation goes down, and all that. So it's just to give it enough time. And I think one of the main benefits of coaching is that, it helps with motivation, and basically, the coach is there to answer all the questions, and, you basically become more accountable also to stick to the plan, specifically over the first few weeks.
Right, right. And I like how when you say it's not, when people say it's not working, it's kind of like, what do you mean? What is your definition of working, right? I mean, because we expect those of us who have always been in diet mode to lose weight. We want to see those scales dropping as fast as we want a magic pill. We want it off. We want this stuff to be off. And it's not that easy. It's not that simple.
Exactly.
Very complex. Our bodies, our bodies put on weight um, sometimes in an unhealthy way due to metabolic issues, right?
Exactly.
Due to what's happening, and a lot, and it's not just food. I mean, we have stress, lack of sleep, a lot of things that cause our bodies not to want to use its fat stores the way it wants to. I mean, it really, our bodies want to be healthy. Our bodies
Exactly.
want to access our fat stores. With lipedema, we have not only the fat stores, but we have the fibrotic tissue,
Mm,
gets in there and holds on tight. And we do have a harder time accessing those fat stores. But the inflammation is an extreme problem. I mean, the chronic inflammation that we deal with lipedema and lymphedema
mm,
is a major issue. The swelling, the pain, the everything that comes along with the chronic inflammation. And that's the thing that I found for me that keto works. Now, there's a lot of different quote unquote ketos out there now in the world. I mean, we see it. We see um we see it all the time. There's this person and that person. You go to the internet and you can find so many ways to do keto, but you said whole food. So what do you mean by that? Whole food keto, what does that look like?
So it's basically, we tend to focus a lot on real food and whole food, meaning basically to eat food as close to the nature as possible, try and get rid of all the processed and packaged foods. So basically anything that comes in a packet or box, they basically they have stuff in it which is not good for our bodies. They can cause inflammation, all the additives, preservatives, flavorings, colorings, and all that. And then food industry always comes with a healthy version of all these unhealthy stuff. So now that a lot of people do low carb and keto, you will see the keto bars on the market, or keto friendly version of, I don't know, cereal, or whatever. So be very careful around those, and know that specifically with sweeter stuff. So usually a lot of these products use sugar alcohols. If they use a natural sugar, artificial sweetener is obviously not a good thing. But the way that they market their products is that it's very hard to understand the proper, understanding of, food labels. That is what the food industry basically uses to get our brain into thinking that we are eating something healthy. So I would say the safest way is basically to try and avoid anything which actually comes in a packet or box. Real food actually doesn't have labels. So if you have, or if you eat an avocado, or basically steak, you are eating a piece of a cow, so you don't need a nutritional label on that. Okay, so nutritional label basically is important when they mix few things together, and then you obviously want to know what you're eating. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people try and basically replace the bread with the keto version of the bread, or dessert with the keto version of the dessert. I usually say try and avoid all of those, because it will become very complicated and also very expensive, because those sort of stuff are expensive, and you never know if you are really eating something which doesn't have the carbs, because a lot of them, as I say, they are marketing techniques that they use, and specifically if something tastes sweet, you should always question that where that sweetness is coming from. It can't be sweet and doesn't have sugar. You basically switch over from normal sugar to either artificial sweetener or sugar alcohols. And even though that they might not have calories, artificial sweeteners basically they damage the guts, which is obviously not good. And then sugar alcohols, they still aggravate cravings, and it still prepares your body to get or receive sugar. So you might still have a bit of insulin spike, and as long as you have something sweet, you're going to crave it. So, I mean, with regards to your question, I would say, try and avoid things that come in a packet or box. Try and buy things, from farmers market, as organic as possible. And a lot of people might say, it's actually very expensive to live like that. But I think you will avoid a lot of unnecessary stuff that we used to basically spend our monies on, because if you go to the supermarket, all the real stuff are around. You basically need to skip all the middle section aisles, because that's where all the processed stuff is. Usually all the meat and dairy and fruits and veggies, they basically around. So skip that middle part and try and basically stick to real food. I mean, we are fortunate enough. I don't know if you've been to South Africa before or not, or one of our
Yeah.
listeners, but we have the privilege of having a bigger house, and like we have chickens in our house. I mean, for the past 10 years, I haven't bought any eggs. And it's real, real organic egg, and it tastes totally different. It really tastes totally different. So, we try and basically grow our own vegetables, teach the kids to do that. And yeah, if you have that, that privilege, that's brilliant. Otherwise, you can still have access to some real food stuff, organic stuff, wherever you are. So yeah, so basically avoid packaged food.
it's funny when you talk about when you said chickens in the house, I'm like, "You have
In the
chickens
garden.
in the garden, not in the house." I'm like, "You have chickens
Exactly, no.
you've had chickens in your house for 10 years? Oh my god, it's
No,
exciting."
in the garden, sorry.
No, it's okay. I was so happy that you had chickens running around like um,
Exactly, no, in the garden.
so, I do know that, a lot there are a lot of small towns, and even in some of the what we might think of as a larger city, I see people having chickens in their yard, in their
Oh,
garden.
yeah, yeah.
You
Okay.
I mean, I as I drive around, and what I find is that I have a chicken lady. I have I shouldn't say that. I have an egg lady, not a chicken lady. We don't eat her chickens, we eat their
Eat the
eggs,
egg.
and I get my beautiful eggs from her, and they're all different colors and all different sizes.
Exactly.
There's all different chickens, right? And all different she has all different varieties and chickens. Some of her chickens are big and they lay little eggs, and some are little, great big eggs, and it's just so much fun to get these beautiful eggs, and they're a different color. You look inside the egg, and it looks different, and the consistency is different, and every now and then our chickens decide to molt, and they don't give me any eggs. Like, I'm the only person that loves them. I think she's got they have her backyard and her garden, and they're beautiful, beautiful chickens and eggs. But, we didn't realize we had people in our family who didn't like eggs. Ugh, they could do without. But they like her eggs.
Mm,
They have a rich flavor. They're creamier. There's so many different
they
things.
taste you.
Yeah, there's so many different things about them. The yolks are nice and big and plump and dark, and I ev every Wednesday, I pick my eggs up from her, um, and she takes great pride in them. She puts them in clear containers, and she orders them just so that, I get the green ones. I mean, because 'cause they're beautiful green ones, she has speckled ones, and they're yellow. There's one that's just as dark brown as I mean, it's just like chocolate brown eggs, and I
Exactly,
love
hey?
them. I get all excited. I take pictures of my eggs all the time. So, but but it's true when you say food tastes different, you don't actually eat as much food. Um, it is expensive to try to find, um, whole organic foods in some locations. But if you
Mm.
get the chance, if you know somebody who has chickens down the road from you, ask them, "Do you sell your eggs? Can I come visit your chickens? See how you take care of them? Maybe I want a chicken." I don't want a chicken. I want a chicken because I like to travel, and I'm not taking my chickens with me.
Yeah,
I
it's
really
a
have to
it's a
stay
big
home and take care of my
responsibility.
chickens. I don't want chickens. So but that's selfish. Um But I'm going to pop this question up, and then so we'll have to do this one question, this one comment. It says, "I did low carb for years, later keto, fasting, no problem, solved a sleep disorder, did heavy lifting based on a bodybuilder nutrition consult, discovered." I don't know what TGLUT translocation. Changed metabolism from loss, gain weight cycling regardless of fitness, to lose weight a pound a week, changed from becoming smaller, faster, stronger to 4 times size reduction. Uncovered and discovered lipedema. Eventually, despite residential fitness and nutrition, obesity. I'm not quite sure what all that means, but we ended up with lipedema. We discover we have lipedema, and with that, it seems like we have no hope, but we do. A keto way of eating or a very low carb way of eating, a whole food or real food way of eating helps with inflammation.
Definitely.
We have um, other conservative treatments, such as compression. I wear compression on my arms all the time because I find that I get my arms just get so heavy and so bulbous, so just thick and heavy, and they ache. My legs, I don't get that same thing, and I think it's because I do I do a lot of movement with my legs, a lot, and so I'm able to keep them going, but my arms became extremely heavy. So each one of us see lipedema and deal with lipedema in a different way. And so there are many different conservative treatments for lipedema. And it all comes back when we talk about it here at Lipedema Simplified, we all come back to saying nutrition is key. Nutrition is key. And Faranak, you've given us so much information in just the last 30 minutes. And, but it helps us to see that nutrition is key for the athlete. Nutrition is key for the family member or ourselves who's dealing with metabolic issues. And you found that nutrition is key for clarity of thought, and you bring your nutrition into your family and teach your children, raise your vegetables, eat your chicken eggs, your
Exactly.
your chickens, the chicken, to become less dependent upon the highly processed foods that the food industry pushes on us as healthy. They're gonna
Exactly.
do everything they can to keep us needing their stuff, right? Their
Mm.
products, because that's
Unfortunately,
right, well, that's their business. Well, our business is to take care of, this
ourselves.
ourself, our body, our thoughts, our brain, our everything about who we are is our business. And that's where people like you, like Varnock, you, and I come into play with the lipedema community. We are here to help you take care of yourself. We are w- we are here to let you know you're not alone and that there's hope and that everything you do and that we can help you with is to live a healthier life and to find wellness in who you are and the life that you have now. So Farnak, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up because it's been 32 minutes and I told you 30 minutes. I'm doing really well. But is there anything is if there's a message that you would love to echo around the world, what would it be?
So, being a woman, I think a lot of the time we forget about ourselves. We tend to take care of everybody else in the family and everybody else around us, the kids, the husband, you work, you do so many stuff. And when it gets to our own self-care, we tend to ignore it. So, I mean, my message is that, take care of yourself because that's the only place you have to live. So, spend time for yourself and make sure that you do take care of yourself because um, you know you need to be there for your families too, and you want to have a good quality of life. So you do everything for your family and everybody around you to be happy, but if you are not happy, then everybody around you will also get the same effect. So take care of yourself. Yeah, that's the message.
Thank you. And with that, Farnak, thank you so much for being here today. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And we shall see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye everyone.